Hey YouTube, it's Wes. Hope you guys are doing great today. In today's video, we are going back to a really cool and very innovative cryptocurrency that's doing things I've not seen anything else do in quite a while. It is Tenset. In this update and follow-up video, I've got some really exciting news that bodes well. Listen, if you've been on the edge of not sure if you want to jump in on this one, this is a video that may push you over the edge. Now, as always, do your own research and never listen to what YouTubers like me tell you, because if you do, you'll probably go bankrupt. But this is some exciting stuff that I personally am very, very eager to jump into. So we're going to cover what's going on in the Tenset world and some things you definitely do not want to miss. Coming right up. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me again today. My name is Wes Spencer, and if you have just stumbled across my channel, welcome. I am so glad you're here. You may have found me from a Google search, Twitter, a referral of a friend, whatever. In this channel, we cover all things innovative cryptocurrency. We don't really do price analysis because a little secret from the inside, most YouTubers have no idea what they're talking about with all of that. What I like to cover is things that are so interesting to me personally. So I'm an entrepreneur by trade. I have bought, sold, and invest in companies. I love having control over my financial background and having financial freedom. And I think all of these things are a confluence or a way to build all of that together. So we're jumping into Tenset today. And as we jump into it, would you hit the like and subscribe button if you like the content? That really does go a long way. It's the only ask I'll ever have for you in today's video. So let's talk a little bit more about why I think Tenset is really, really cool. So if you haven't seen my original video, I do encourage you to go back and watch it. I talk about and I rate it according to my rating mechanisms. I have a strict rubric in how I like to rate technologies and crypto things. And they're doing some things that are really innovative, not just in being like a standard burn token, which they're certainly not, but in their grasp of how we can use the financial ecosystem beyond cryptocurrency to leverage and give our holders in the technology itself a chance to have some rapid growth. Now that's pretty generic, and I'll jump into some specifics more, but if you haven't seen the intro video, you really do need to go and watch it because I'm going to cover a lot of things I'm assuming that you're going to know in this video. So let's just start here. I did want to cover just how has Tenset been performing. Now I know you just heard me say I don't do like price analysis in this channel, and what I mean by that is I'm not going to tell you predictions. Nobody knows those things. Usually it's just gut feel. And you really have to do your own research. If you use YouTubers like me to try to completely just, do your entire strategy, you're probably going to go bankrupt. So what you really should do is listen to people that you like, but make your own educated decision. Always do your own research as you're diving into cryptos or any other investment. So if you look at the price performance, this is all time, but keep in mind Tenset's pretty short. So even if I do like a month, it hasn't been around very long. But do you notice stability here? If you didn't know what's going on in the crypto world around you, you might just think we're in a pretty stable, consistent market looking at this. But if you go compare, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or a whole host of other altcoins that are out there, we've obviously seen a huge nosedive in the market. And we're not talking about why that's happened, but I am just very interested to see, man, the price history has really been very stable with Tenset over this time period of a nosedive in the market. And I think that's really interesting. There are reasons for that. I think there's a lot of buzz in Tenset. There's a lot of neat things that are happening with it. There's a lot of new users jumping into the platform, all of which bode really, really well. In fact, if I click holders right here, you'll even see there are now 14,000 holders inside of the Tenset ecosystem. So there's definitely been a whole lot of growth. And as you scroll down, don't be alarmed at some of the max supply here. In the white paper and in the intro video, I covered these things. A lot of these large wallets are publicly known. They're disclosed of what they are, what they belong to. So don't be too alarmed by that. I'm just mostly interested in, I do like to see when I cover a crypto, are there others that are jumping into it as well? Do they correlate with me? Sometimes you find something really early and you take a huge risk on it, like FEG is an example of that for me. But something like this, you can see the data is growing. You can see a lot of users in the ecosystem. You can see that it's growing really powerfully, and others are seeing the same thing as well, which is a really good thing. So I'm excited to see this. Good to see the fully diluted market cap at 799 million, which is really good. That diluted market cap just includes all the supply that could be added in one day. The full market cap is 279 million that you see as current day. So really good. You even see the growth percentages. We've been up at 22% over the last day. So, we're seeing growth in the ecosystem. It doesn't seem to be totally correlated with the rest of the cryptocurrency market. And I do think that happens sometimes in new and innovative cryptos. You'll see it sort of supersede and do things that like the rest of the cryptos that have been out there are struggling with just because of the buzz and where it's going. And people, honestly, sometimes in big crashes, they're looking for alternatives in the same scene. They may not want to get out of crypto completely, but they're looking for something new and innovative that they can get in early on. And so if you think that Tenset is an example of that, which I personally do, this kind of correlates with what's doing well with it. So let's talk about some news and some big things that are happening inside of Tenset. I want to cover some things. One of them is some new investments are still on the way. And I want to talk about investments and why I think they're a powerful thing in the crypto community for a couple of different reasons. So in my first video, I did talk about some of the other investments. So this is not the very first that Tenset has had as an investment. This is coming from MXC Labs. MXC Labs, let me just show them really quick. I don't use them because I am a US citizen, so I don't have the ability to, but it's a great exchange. They're well known for having a ton of like hard to find cryptocurrencies. If you don't want to use a full DeFi like a Uniswap or a Pancake, easy to jump on this if you have a country of origin that lets you trade on their platform. And so as an exchange, they also get involved in the venture arms. What I mean by that is the ability to put in capital for an investment for equity in certain projects, of which Tenset is one. So let's start here for a minute. Why would anybody invest in a cryptocurrency project instead of just buying their token? Well, there's a few reasons. One, you get equity in the company, which is exciting. If you think a company is going to go somewhere, investing capital with them to help them grow gives you the capability to get equity back. And so as they grow, your equity becomes worth something over time. And if they sell to somebody else or whatever it may be, it gives you the ability to jump in and ride that train with you. Also, the other thing that works well with investments is simply this. It puts skin in the game. And so the Tenset team likes having MXC as an investor and other reputable ones that are out there as well, other investors, simply because they ride the train together. And MXC is going to be open and willing to help promote Tenset because they have their own vested interest in the platform, in the technology itself. So that's really, really cool. Now, what does that mean for people like you and me that are not investors in Tenset? It simply means this. If you like MXC, you know they did something. They put their money where their mouth is. That's a statement we have here in the US, which we just mean it's one thing just to say I believe in something, but to put your money in to confirm you believe something means a lot more. That means you're willing to say, look, I have some accountability in this and I can prove what I said was real because I've invested in this and I have money to lose in this. And so what that means as an investor for us is it should communicate confidence. It shouldn't communicate guarantees. There are no guarantees. There are many companies that have had millions of dollars invested in them and they totally fail. So it doesn't guarantee anything. It just means something to say, wow, it's great to see other third parties invest in something because that gives us confidence in their amount of due diligence and something they liked out of it, which is really cool. Another thing I wanted to share with you is something I just noticed on Google with Tenset. There's a term I've come across, and I'm going to dive into this as much as I can without being a lawyer or a financial investor or advisor of which I am neither and will never be either, so please don't treat me as one, is this term right here, second generation ETF. I've got this in quotes in Google. The reason for that is it forces Google just to search those terms. And it's interesting to me that Tenset actually is first page results with the term second generation ETF. Now, if you don't know what an ETF is, you can go Google. There's a million YouTube videos and Investopedia articles and others that'll tell you all about what an ETF is. But an ETF, at least in the US, is considered a security, and it's an investment vehicle by which an individual investor can put money into, and it goes into a group or class of investments. And I'll share more about that in just a minute. But this whole term here, second generation ETF, that's interesting. What does that mean? To me, that means it's a marketing term to mean something that's different. It's sort of, an ETF, but it's doing something much, much different. Just like you might see a second generation product. I remember the original iPhone and then the second generation iPhone. It had 3G and it had the App Store and it had all these amazing things on it where you already thought the iPhone was cool, and then boom, blows your mind and all the new things that are coming out. So I think that's interesting. You see Tenset all over here with that term. It must be something that they have coined. So let's come into this a little bit. Is Tenset a security? Is it an actual ETF? And there are implications behind all this as it is. Well, the fact of the matter is we don't know yet. Ultimately, at least in the US, it's the federal government, it's the SEC that will decide if Tenset is a security or not. Now, here's why this matters. You may say, well, who cares if it's a security or not? If you've looked at some cryptocurrencies in the past that have been deemed a security, there are things you can and can't do with them. There are certain implications from the SEC and how it's to be treated. I covered some other projects in the past. You can look, for example, at Ripple that went through some rocky waters and terrain from all of this as a background with being treated as a security. And so the Tenset team is just looking at this and saying, well, we should get in front of this, especially just in transparency for our viewers. And so they engaged Belinky law firm. They're in Houston, Texas. I don't know a lot about them, but in my research, I do know, I think they're just a single practitioner owned firm, but they do have a specialty in cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency advising, which I think is good. And so they paid for a legal opinion from the law firm. Now, keep in mind, I've dealt with lawyers a lot in my life. A legal opinion is just that. It's an opinion, but it's an informed opinion, hopefully by a law firm that has experience in practicing law in that particular area. And so the conclusion of Belinky's opinion, you can see right here, two things. They say it's unlikely to be deemed a security under U.S. applicable laws. Does that mean that it could be? It could be. It could be that they were wrong. They're just saying it's unlikely. And the reason for that is it passes the sniff test of what's called the Howey test. And you can read more about what the Howey test is. There's 3 things that go into it. But for time's sake in this video, you can just literally Google it. And you don't have to listen to me talk about it. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing they say is trades of the Tenset tokens may be subject to regulation under U.S. law or other applicable laws from other countries. And that's a no-brainer. I mean, of course it's going to be. Given that Tenset is going to be involved in investing in other cryptocurrencies, involved in investing, hopefully in the stock market itself for dividend yield and things like that. Of course, they're going to have some amount of regulation involved. And I actually welcome that. I think that's good to see, third-party governments watching over all of this and giving their insight into it. Regulation is not always bad, and it's certainly not always good, but it's good to see all this in here. So what does this mean? It really just means this. If Tenset were going to be deemed a security, it impacts your ability to buy it. It limits it. It usually makes centralized exchanges hesitant to offer it because of the way that it's treated. And I'm no lawyer. I'm not going to go beyond that. Just know that's typically what happens. And so with this legal opinion, just is communicating to investors or potential investors of Tenset is the legal opinion says it's deemed unlikely. It could still happen, but it's unlikely, which means as we see Tenset come into new centralized exchanges, you'll see more trading volume. Hopefully the price will continue to rise and it has better accessibility for all potential investors, especially lower tech ones that don't know how to navigate a Uniswap, for example. So there it is. You can see Belinky's law firm here. I'll put a link to this in the description. You want to check them out. But right here under transactional law is their cryptocurrency section where they talk about their experiences with it and what all they can do. And so this is the firm that provided that legal opinion. So going back to the whole ETF 2.0 thing. So you see this even mentioned right here, second generation ETF. You can really see Tenset's doing a good job of trying to command influence over that term. And remember, one of the things I talked about in the original video is it's not just the Tenset economy that they're going to be involved in. It's not just cryptocurrencies they're going to be involved in, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of the stable coins that have been mentioned that they're going to use to generate profits and then buy back Tenset from exchanges and burn them. Also, long-term in the white paper, they talk about this step 3 as an asset company investing in the stock market. So you may or may not know a lot about the stock market, but you don't see a lot of cryptocurrencies as a bridge between the stock market and the cryptocurrency market. They're very related to each other, but you don't typically see a cryptocurrency company having direct plans to get involved in it and use it for certain mechanisms. And so I want to talk about that at a real simple high level of why I think that's exciting. As an investor, you could be interested in this. So there are multiple strategies that you can engage in when you go into the stock market. One is just growth. You find a small company or maybe a really large one like a Tesla, and you're like, I'm really interested and I want to invest in this and see it grow over time. And I believe in the company and its, projections and profitability, all that. But another strategy can be a residual income strategy, where you're specifically targeting companies, not necessarily for like high growth. They may be pretty consistent in their share price, but you're targeting them for dividends. Dividends are payouts that come back with profitability that just simply communicate a strategy of, hey, we're a mature company and we're doing really well, and we're going to provide dividends back to shareholders. And so if you want to look, NerdWallet, and again, I'll put a link to this, NerdWallet lists not like necessarily the 25 highest ever, but just some examples of 25 high dividend stocks that are here. So some of these I recognize, some of them I might not, but I'm just going to pick one. IBM, everyone knows IBM, right? So their dividend yield was really high, 4.99%, there we go, at $1.63 a share. What does that mean? That means if you own a whole bunch of shares, you're going to get a dividend yield out of that at 4.99%. That's kind of exciting. That's a way to say, hey, look, I may be invested in IBM. Maybe I've got 100K in them or whatever. And I know IBM's not going to just like rocket ship up over time. I mean, they're not a high growth company anymore, right? They've been around since like the end of World War II, basically. What I'm interested in as an investor is the dividend yield that comes out of it. And so here's the idea with this is Tenset is just simply saying, look, we want to invest in stock that has dividend yield, that we can take that dividend yield, the growth out of it. And if I go back and show this to you, use that, at least 30% of those profits to further buy back and burn Tenset. That's where the bridge exists between them, which I think is really cool. So let's take an example of this. You saw, actually, let me go back and show this to you. You see Coca-Cola right there? You can probably just see their logo right there on the screen. So I thought, hey, if they list Coca-Cola, let's take an example of how Coca-Cola has performed over the past few years. So you can see here is the dividend payouts for Coke. You can see it's quarterly and you can see the yields always in that 3% range is where it's at. Sometimes as low as like you see way down here 1.9 in a bad year. 2012 is a bad year for everybody. Even 0.9% here, but by and large it's in the 3%. So what does that mean? That means if Tenset is investing inside, let's just call it 100K or whatever it is they're going to invest in Coca-Cola, they're going to get, according to those shares that they own, dividends that come out of it, which are profits, which they can then use as a bridge to buy back Tenset from exchanges and drive its price up by buying them and burning them. So I think that's really cool. And also, by the way, the rest of the profits they use to fund themselves as a company and fund the cost of doing financial analysis, of finding the right stocks to get into, all that business, right? So I think that is really interesting. And I love seeing the power and potential of this as sort of being, it's not a real ETF, of course, and they certainly don't want it to be a federally described ETF, right? Because then all of the SEC regulations come into bear and you don't see it on centralized exchanges. But as you see right here, them kind of being that 2.0, them investing for you in multiple different companies, not really on your behalf, on their own behalf, but using that buyback to increase burn and increase deflation is really exciting. You just don't see a lot of cryptocurrencies that do something like that. So I'm very, very excited. Last thing I wanted to share with you is you may be interested in Tenset and you may be like, hey, I really want to get in on it, but I don't have the ability to like buy a lot of it right now. And a lot of you like airdrops, you like giveaways, things like that. I wanted to show you some really great giveaways. This is from Gate.io. Again, I'll put a description in this. It's not through me, so keep in mind I'm just sharing what Gate.io has, but they have a number of giveaways and some airdrops that are occurring. So for example, here's one that goes from the 18th of May all the way up to the 31st of May. So depending on when you're watching this video, this may be active for you. So you can see the activities, the things that you need to do for you to have a chance at getting into these. There's a Twitter giveaway, there's deposit user giveaways, there's a Telegram AMA giveaway. So what Gate.io is doing here is in participation with Tenset, they have a bunch of funds they're giving away just to increase adoption. option just to increase that viral sharing and nature of getting involved. And I wanted to share this with you because you may be one of those people that want to jump into that. No cost to you for those things. And you have a chance of winning something, winning some Tenset, which I think is really, really exciting. So there you have it. There's an update in the Tenset economy, what's going on in it. Overall, I am still very, very excited. I have invested in it. I'm excited to see where Tenset is going. I think it has some real promise and potential because it's doing some things that are different. And as people like you and me jump into it and we give them the capacity and the capital to continue to buy, build, and grow into their business model, I think a lot of future and a lot of excitement will come out of this. There's still things they need to go on the roadmap. I'd still love to see them move into Binance. Even though ETH fees are dropping in the middle of this market that's really seen a pretty significant pullback, it's good to see, it would be good to see them get into Binance because it makes it easier for people to buy that are in the Binance ecosystem and still lower fees regardless with Ethereum. So I'd like to see that happen. And I want to see continued transparency from the team. So far, so good with them. I've noticed where they communicate the most, at least in front of my eyes, is Telegram. So make sure you join the Telegram channel. I'll put a link to that in the description down below as well if you want to make sure you get involved in the Telegram community as well. All right, guys, that is Tenset. I'm still very excited. I want to know your thoughts. Are you in on it? Do you like where it's going? Do the investments excite you? Are you getting involved in the giveaways? What do you think about this whole like ETF 2.0 environment? Is it real? Are you worried about SEC regulation, at least in the US, coming on board and like, tamping it out? Or do you like the legal opinion? Give me your thoughts from this video. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. And by the way, just as a follow-up, if you like the video, if it's helpful to you and you like the channel, easy way to give back for me is simply just hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button as well. That really does go a long way in getting this out to the channels through YouTube's almighty algorithm, and definitely hit the bell icon if you want to stay in touch with all of the content I'm producing just for you, my friends. All right, guys, thank you so much.